this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to crochet the Crochet for Warmth Horizon hat, which is a free pattern you'll find on yarnspirations.com. Please go to the link in the description where you will find a link to the right and left-handed video tutorials, as well as the written pattern and all of the supplies you need. This hat pattern comes in two sizes, small and large, both to fit adult-size heads, although I believe the small would fit most teens and older children as well. For this pattern, you'll need one skein of Red Heart Heatwave yarn, in your choice of colors, of course, and you'll also need a US eye hook. This one happens to be by Furls, as well as your standard crochet supplies, a yarn needle, scissors, and stitch markers. If you look at the picture in the pattern, you'll also note that there's a pom-pom there. So if you want to make a pom-pom for yours, there are instructions in the pattern for how to use your hands to do that, or you can use your favorite pom-pom maker, or of course, use any of the fun faux fur pom-poms that are out on the market right now too. So let's go ahead and get started making the Crochet for Warmth Horizon hat. Okay, first let's take a quick look at the finished hat. This hat is made from the bottom up. So you begin at the brim and work your way up. You can see there's a couple repeats here. These look like the same section over and over again. And then we've just got some double crochet rows that gradually get smaller. And then we gather up the crown like so at the top. So you can put your pom-pom right up there or leave it open if you want. And since it's made from the bottom up, you can also leave a section here open for a ponytail hat if that's something you desire. So now we'll go ahead and get stitching. Okay, so to begin the Crochet for Warmth Horizon hat, we're going to start with a row, or rather a round, of foundation double crochet. So we'll work it as a row, but then join it at the end to create a round. If you're not familiar with foundation double crochet, I do have a video tutorial for it on the Moogly YouTube channel. I like to begin mine with a chain of 2, and then I'll yarn over and go into that first chain I made, the one furthest from the hook, like so. And you'll notice I go under that back loop, not under the top 2 loops, but rather under the loop on the back. Then I yarn over, pull that loop through, pull that up to about the size of the other loops there. That makes the chain at the bottom of our first double crochet. Then I yarn over and pull up a loop just through that loop. That begins our double crochet. Then I yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. So you can see the V there at the top. This is the first double crochet of our foundation double crochet row. All the remaining foundation double crochets are made as follows. Yarn over, go under the 2 loops at the bottom of that first stitch. Remember I said we were making a chain there at the bottom? Those are the 2 loops at the bottom of that chain, or they would be the top of the chain if we were working into the top. But since we're making foundation stitches, we just want to go under those 2 loops, pull up a loop, again, make sure it's the same size as the others, yarn over, pull through that first loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's our second one. So we're just going to continue making those on across to make our first row here. Now, if you're making the smaller size, you will be making 54 total double crochets. If you're making the larger size, you will need 60 double crochets. So go ahead and make your foundation double crochets, and I will see you when we're ready to end round 1. One note here, normally when I do a pattern with foundation double crochets, a lot of times I'll say if you don't like the foundation double crochet, you can just chain and double crochet across. And you can certainly do that for this pattern in a pinch, but I will say the foundation double crochet row is a lot stretchier than a row made with a typical chain. So it may affect the stretchiness of the brim of your hat. So I really do recommend, if you can, taking the time to learn the foundation double crochet for these stretchy brims. It really will make a big difference in your finished project. Okay, so for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to be making a smaller swatch-sized hat, but you should have either 54 or 60 stitches, depending on what size you're making. To finish out this round 1, all we need to do is turn it from a row to a round. We're going to go ahead, and you want to do this without twisting. You don't want to twist in your band. You just want to pull the other end around here and then slip stitch right in the top of that first double crochet you made, that very first foundation double crochet. So we'll go ahead and make our slip stitch like so. And then I always just like to double check and make sure that brim is nice and straight. Now we've got this little gap here. Pull my hands out of the way a little bit here. You can see We've got this gap here at the bottom of this round. This is where we're going to use our yarn needle and this end, and we'll just go ahead and cinch that right up. If you like to try your hats on as you go, you can go ahead and do that now, or you can wait and weave it in along with your other ends at the end. Let's go ahead though and move on to round 2. Now the next several rounds are going to be the same no matter which size you're making. It isn't until round 17 that the directions for the different sizes differ. So for rounds 2 and 3, we're going to start with a chain 2, 1 and 2, and then we're going to double crochet front post around the first stitch. Now in many of my patterns, you might be used to seeing FPDC for front post double crochet. Yarn Inspirations does it a little differently. They do DCFP, double crochet front post. Still the same stitch, just a different way of writing it. So what we're going to do is yarn over and go around the first stitch. That doesn't mean the chain 2 or chain 3, depending on how you like to make your foundation double crochets. It means that first actual double crochet. So we're just going to go right around that post from front to back, pull up our loop, and make our double crochet in the front post. There, our front post double crochet. The next stitch then, we're going to back post double crochet. Yarn over again, and now we're going to go around that post from behind, like so. Pull up your loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 and pull through 2. So those are the front post and back post double crochets, and we're just going to alternate those all the way around to create this really great ribbing look. So we had a front post in the next, back post in the one after that. So there's a front post and there's a back post. And again, if you need a closer look at this, there are front and back post tutorials on the Moogly Blog YouTube page. They're also known sometimes as relief stitches, although that's an older term you don't see as often anymore. They're usually just called post stitches now. So you should go ahead and front post and back post all the way around this round. You'll end with a back post double crochet, and then you just join with a slip stitch. And rounds 2 and 3 are just like this. This is all there is to it. It makes the really great ribbing for the brim of this hat. So continue making your front post and back post double crochets around, and I will see you at the end of round 2. Okay, I have one more stitch to make to finish off round 2, but I wanted to share that with you here, because if you haven't sewn this end together yet, this can be a little trickier than if you've already sewn it together. Basically, we're just going to go right on around that very last stitch, and it helps if you use your non-hook hand to sort of anchor that down when you go around it, like so, and finish it. There we are. And then, like I say, that you can weave in later, or if it's already woven in, that should be nice and secure. So to finish off round 2, we want to slip stitch again to that first double crochet. In this case, it's that post stitch, not the chain 2. That chain 2 is not going to count as a stitch. So with that, we have finished round 2. Round 3 will be exactly the same. We're going to start again with chain 2, and now we're going to be working around the post stitches. So we'll go and do a front post double crochet around the front post double crochet, which is always a little bit easier. Then we're going to back post double crochet around the back post double crochet. So just come from behind, make sure you're staying up on the post for that previous row and not getting down into any of that first round stitch. You can pull up your loop and make your back post double crochet. And again, we're just going to alternate all the way around. Work a front post around our front post and work a back post around our back post. And that will continue our brim. So I will see you at the end of round 3. Okay, so after you have slip stitched to that first double crochet again, you want to make sure to skip over that chain 2. Then we're ready to begin round 4. Round 4 again starts with a chain 2 that will not count as a stitch. And then we're going to work in the back loops only and double crochet in each stitch around. So that would include this first stitch that we slip stitched to. So we just go in there and make our double crochets, and then we'll do the same around. Now, a closer look at this, if you're not familiar with front and back loops, the front loop is always the loop of the top V that is closest to you, and the back loop is that loop that is always furthest away. It's always relative to you, the crocheter. So if I were to flip this around, now this one would be the front loop, and that one would be the back loop. So to go under the back loop only, we're just going to put our hook right in the middle of that stitch, right in the middle of that V, so it goes only under the back loop. Then we can yarn over and make our double crochet as usual. So if you had 54 stitches in your brim, you'll have 54 stitches in this round. If you had 60, you should have 60. Just make sure you double crochet in the back loop only of each stitch around, and I will see you at the end of round 4. Okay, so at the end of round 4, we've slip stitched to that first double crochet and we're ready to begin round 5. Now, the instructions for round 5 have the standard chain for a half double crochet round, which is chain 2. Personally, I find I like to just chain 1 before a round of half double crochet, but you can do whichever one suits you best. I'm going to go ahead and just chain 1. Then I'm going to half double crochet in each stitch around. This time though, we're going to go under both of those loops. So just half double crochet in each and every stitch around the hat, and I will see you at the end of round 5. Okay, here I am at the end of round 5, but I haven't slip stitched yet, and this is where I wanted to bring up one of my tips. I really like when I'm working in the round to use stitch markers in the first and last stitch of each round as I'm making them. So I'm going to go ahead and put a stitch marker in that very last stitch that I just made, and I will go ahead and put one in that first stitch right now. And the reason I like to do this is because when you're working in the round and you're slip stitching to that first stitch, it's very easy to accidentally count that slip stitch as one of your stitches or to end up working into it. So by doing this, it will help you keep track of those stitches just a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch right in that first stitch. And then I'll go ahead and take that stitch marker out so I can move it up to this next stitch I'm about to make. But round 6 and 7, because round 6 and 7 are going to be the same, are pretty fun and pretty unique. Again, I'm going to start these rounds with a chain 1. I find it just works a little bit better for my half double crochets, but you can try a chain 2 and see which works best for you. So I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to half double crochet in the third loop or the horizontal bar at the back of the stitch. So if we zoom in here, you can see at the back of the stitch when you're making half double crochets, I'm going to pick up my scissors here so I can point a little more easily. There is a bar that goes horizontally across the back of the stitch. That's formed by that first yarn over when you're making a half double crochet. And that right there is the bar we want to go into for these stitches in rounds 6 and 7. What that's going to do is cause the top 2 loops that we would normally work into to push forward. And if I pull up the finished hat here, you can see that's what gives us these really great rows right here. So that's what we're doing right now. So I'm going to yarn over just like I normally would for a half double crochet. And then I'm going to look at the inside of the hat and I'm going to find that horizontal bar right underneath the top 2 loops of that first stitch. So just go right in there with your hook, pull up your loop and finish your first half double crochet as usual. And then I'll go ahead and put a stitch marker right in there. So I always know that's my first stitch. And then I will yarn over and find the next horizontal bar. So if I turn that over, I can see it right there on the inside, like so. I'll do another couple here so we can see the effect happening. All right, so if we look at our stitches, you can see here, it's really pushing those top 2 loops forward and creating that look that we get on the finished hat. So again, this is round 6. Rounds 6 and 7 are exactly the same. You're just going to work into that horizontal bar at the back of the stitches evenly all the way around. So 1 stitch in each stitch. So if you want a closer look here, let's just go ahead and look at the anatomy of the stitch for a minute. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to go into that third loop and pull up a loop. Now, when I yarn over and pull through, this loop right here is the one that creates that horizontal bar on the back of our stitch. So I'll pull that through. You can see that right there, that bar was just made. So right now I'm making round 6. When I come back for round 7, I'll be working into that exact same bar right there. So go ahead and make rounds 6 and 7, and I will see you when we're ready to begin round 8. Okay, so here I have finished rounds 6 and 7. So you can see we now have 2 rounds where those top 2 loops have been pushed forward to give us that sort of almost like a knit stitch look. So now we're ready for round 8. Round 8, I'm going to go ahead and start with a chain 2, and then I'm going to go ahead and remove that stitch marker out of our way here, And this time we're going to be making double crochets, but we're still going to be working into that back loop on the half double crochets of the previous round. We want to get one more row where those top 2 loops are pushed forward, but now we're ready for a little height. So I'll yarn over and go under that 3rd loop there, that loop and back, and make a double crochet this time. But we're still just working even, 1 stitch in each stitch around. You can see though, even though these are double crochets, it still gives that same look to the previous row, pushing those loops forward. So we want to get 3 of those stripes at a time, separated by a row of double crochet. So I will see you at the end of round 8. Okay, so at the end of round 8, you should have something that looks like this, but of course quite a bit wider. You've got your brim, you've got your double crochet row, you've got that one's worked in the back loop only, so it creates sort of that great line right there. Then we've got our 2 rounds of half double crochet worked in that 3rd loop only. Then we've got a row of double crochet worked in that 3rd loop. So now we've got 3 stripes of those stitches pushed forward right there. So the rounds 9 through 16 are just going to be repeats of rounds 5 through 8. So that means we would start again with a round of half double crochet, then 2 rounds of half double crochet in that 3rd loop, that back loop, and then another round of double crochet in that back loop. So if we pull that up here, not back loop, that behind loop, that 3rd loop. I don't want to say it's going under the back loop like we did down here. It's that 3rd loop behind the stitch. So here we have the finished hat again. You can see here's our round 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 would be right there, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. That would get us all the way up here. So those rows we just made, we're just going to repeat those over again. And of course, you can refer to the written pattern with help with that. It isn't until we get up here, then round 17, we're going to start our decreases to make the crown of our hat. So we're going to come back over here now to our swatch and pretend we're ready for round 17. So let's go ahead and begin. Round 17 starts with a chain 2, 1, 2, again, not going to count as a stitch. Now for the rest of these rounds, we're just going to be going under both of those top 2 loops. These are just standard double crochets, but we're going to have some decreases. If you are making the smaller size, what you're going to begin by doing is making a double crochet in each of the first 7 stitches. So there's 1. I'll go ahead and move that stitch marker right on up here. There we are. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There we are. So 7 double crochets, then double crochet 2 together. So let me go ahead and start that again, and I'll do it a little slower if you're not familiar. We're going to yarn over like we would normally for a double crochet, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, then stop with 2 loops left on the hook, yarn over again, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, then yarn over and pull through all 3 stitches. So even though it's got 2 legs, we can see from the top here with 1 V, this is 1 stitch now. So then we would just do that again. Double crochet in the next 7 stitches, then double crochet 2 together, and keep repeating that all the way around. Now again, if you're making that small size, this will bring you down to 48 stitches. Now I'm going to pull these out and say I am making the large size. If you're making the large size, it's a little bit different, just in one number. Rather than crocheting 7 stitches between the decreases, we're just going to do 3. So there's the first 2. I actually pulled out 1 too many. So we'll do 1 more, like so, and then we double crochet 2 together, just as we did before. Begin 1, then yarn over again, begin the second. When you've got 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and finish it off. So for the larger size, you'll double crochet 3, then double crochet 2 together, double crochet 3, double crochet 2 together, etc. on around. And I'll go ahead and pull up the written pattern here. You can see mine printed up a little funny, but I didn't want to reprint it. It just cut off the numbers there, so I just wrote them in rather than wasting the ink. But if we look at the written pattern here, you can see on that line, 7 is for the small size, 3 is for the larger size. That's just the number of double crochet stitches in between those decreases. So whether you're making the large or the small, because of those different numbers, you will end up with 48 stitches at the end of round 17. So I'll see you when we're ready to begin round 18. Okay, round 18, we're going to decrease again. We start again with a chain of 2, then we're going to double crochet in the first 2 stitches and follow that with a double crochet 2 together. Just like we were doing before, and this time it doesn't matter which size. We're back to the same instructions for both sizes since both sizes are down to 48 stitches on the previous round. Now we just make 2 and then double crochet 2 together. So that is going to be your repeat all the way around for round 18. Oops, I didn't even double crochet 2 together there, did I? Because I was so busy talking. There we go. So 2 double crochets, double crochet 2 together, 2 double crochets, double crochet 2 together, all the way around round 18, and you should have 36 stitches when you're at the end of round 18. Okay, so as we're ready to begin round 19, we'll start again with a chain 2, double crochet in the first stitch, and then double crochet 2 together. So we only have 1 double crochet stitch in between each of our double crochet 2 togethers. So there's 1, and then a double crochet 2 together. So at the end of round 19, you should have a total of 24 stitches. And I will see you when we're ready to begin round 20. Okay, so for round 20, it's our last round, and we're just going to do decreases. So we'll start again with a chain of 2, and then we're going to double crochet 2 together all the way around. So we just go into that very first stitch, start a double crochet, yarn over, go into the next one, start a double crochet, yarn over and pull through all 3 for our first one. Then we jump right to the next stitch, start one, yarn over, start the next one, yarn over, and finish it off. So we've covered 4 stitches there. We've worked into 4 stitches, but we've only made 2 stitches there. So that's what we're going to do all the way around for round 20. At the end of round 20, you should have just 12 stitches left. So I will see you right as we get to the end of round 20. Okay, so at the end of round 20, you should have a small circle of about 12 stitches here, or exactly 12. On my little swatch, I've got a few less, but you should have 12 stitches all the way around. What we're going to do is after you've joined, go ahead and carefully put that down, and we're going to cut our yarn, but this time we want to leave about a 12-inch tail. There we are. And I'm going to go ahead and just pull that right on through our loop here, right on through that last stitch. So now everything's secured, and I will take my yarn needle, get that yarn right on there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way around that loop with my yarn needle, and I want to gather it closed. Now, if you're making a ponytail hat, you might not want to do that, of course, but if you want to go ahead and close it up for a regular beanie, you'll want to weave in through these ends to close up your top. So my favorite way to do this is to come from the outside, go under both loops of each stitch around. Oops, I actually caught a little bit of that yarn on the other side there. There we are. So just go right to the next one from the outside towards the end. And I really feel like this helps pull all of those stitches together in a nice way. I have tried different times, at different points, I've tried weaving them through this way, and it tends to create sort of an odd little pucker. I really prefer, let me pull that out of the way there so we can see. I really prefer this version of gathering my hat and mittens or whatever else. Whenever I'm closing up the top of something with this method, this is the way I like to do it. So we're just going to sort of gently go under each one. You can see I'm not really pulling yet. But when you get about halfway around, you might want to start giving it a little tug. Start pulling those stitches in together. You don't want to make it hard to do the rest, but you don't want to get too far or then you won't be able to pull back hard enough. And you'll see too, I'm pinching. I know it's hard to see because I'm pinching it with my my other hand here, but it just sort of helps to stabilize the stitches there a little bit. So then you can go back to find where we were here and find the next stitch and go through there. Keep going all the way around until you've gone through all 12 of those stitches. And you can gather that whole top closed. Just give it a nice firm tug there. You don't want to pull so hard you break the yarn. Just take your time and tug on through, and you'll get a really nice close. Then you can take that end, just send it right on through to the inside of the hat, and then you can weave in your end. Or if you're sewing on a pom-pom, you might want to use that end to go ahead and sew your pom-pom on with. Okay, and now's the time to, don't forget that other end. If you haven't already sewn the bottom of that first round together, you can go ahead and put that on your yarn needle as well. And then what I like to do is find the 2 loops there at the bottom of that first stitch, that I made, or I guess it would have been more like the last stitch that I made since we're upside down now. But just go under those top 2 loops, pull that up nice and tight so they're right together. It can get pretty tight because we've got that chain 2 there right in between. So just get that nice and tight and then sort of send that yarn end back through the middle of the stitch on the other side there, like so. And I find that gives it a really nice clean look. And then you can just go ahead and weave in your ends right along the inside of the hat. And you will have made your own Crochet for Warmth Horizon hat. So that's how to crochet the Crochet for Warmth Horizon hat. I hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial. If you do, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the Moogly YouTube channel. I love making new videos for you guys and sharing all the great things I can find in the world of crochet. Be sure to give Red Heart Heatwave a try too. It's a wonderful yarn, and I didn't talk about it before, but it is a heat generating yarn. So this hat will keep you even warmer than it otherwise would. I really enjoyed designing this hat for Yarnspirations, and I hope you enjoy making it. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day, everybody.